I was born with my legs twisted just a little bit. And as I got older, why, this caused a lot of stress on my back and down the backs of my legs and one thing and another. And I used to have terrific leg pains. And I'd have an awful lot of problems with that. And so I went into a doctor over to Logan, and they decided to try to straighten them out. And they do that nowadays, but only they do it when you're really young. And of course I was a lot older and one thing and another, but they went ahead and actually what they did is they actually cut my legs. They just cut right through my big bones in my legs. So just like almost cutting your leg off. And they straightened them, and then they had to grow back together again. And then to make them grow back together again, they had to take a big steel brace, and they stuck it in up in the top about 3 inches in the top of where your socket is there in your hip. And then it went down my leg, and they put some big long screws into the bone where they'd cut it on both sides to hold it straight. And they took these steel braces out. Now they're about 3 inches long on one end and about 4 or 5 inches long on the other end, and they just kind of went out over my socket on my hip, and then they were put in with some screws, and some of them screws are inch and an inch and a half long or better. They went into the main bone where they had cut that off and straightened my legs. And I could hardly walk. It took me a year. I was in a wheelchair almost for a whole year. I could hardly get around with them.
I would like to thank all those people who have ever provided service for my mom and dad. I could give you many, many stories about the services provided to them, but I only have time for one. Many years ago, Dad had both of his hips operated on, and just as he was getting up and around with crutches, a large hay elevator fell on him and crushed his hips and his arms and ribs and everything, really messed him up. And both those things laid him up for about a year. He tried his best to run his farm through his kids, laying in a hospital bed near the back window in our family room looking out over the farm. Despite our best efforts, we got behind. And one Sunday night, he called us over to his bed, and he says, I need you to go to school the next day and check out for a week. And we've got to prepare to run that plow 24 hours a day for the next 6 days so that we could be ready to plant the fields. So we did. We went down and told the vice president why we wouldn't be there the next week. And we went up and started to plow. Now let me tell you about this plow. It was a 2-bottom plow, and we pulled it with our small case tractor. The only way that case tractor could pull that plow was in the lowest possible gear with the throttle wide open. You could walk faster than that tractor was pulling that plow. Well, we pulled that plow through the day and through the night and taking turns, and it was about 7 a.m. in the morning when I saw these 5 large tractors pulling onto our property. I sat up in the tractor seat and tried to shake the sleepiness out of my head, and the first thing I thought is, hey, what are they doing on our property? Each one of those 5 tractors pulled onto one of our 5 fields and started opening up these huge plows. One of them pulled onto the field I was plowing, and it was a huge tractor, one of those kinds that pivot in the middle with full-size duals on both front and rear. He opened up a 14-bottom plow, started plowing right towards me. There was dust and dirt flying all over the place, and I pulled my plow out of the ground and headed for the ditch bank as fast as I can because I thought he might plow me under. He must have been going 35 miles an hour. Doug and I stood on the ditch bank and watched as those 5 farmers plowed our entire farm in less than 4 hours. When each farmer finished, they folded up their plow and just waved as they drove off. Now, back at home, Dad panicked when he saw both of us walk through the door at the same time. He said, "Oh no, what's wrong with the tractor now?" The big tears swelled up in his eyes when we explained to him what just happened. Marvin Ashby was respected by the great people of this wonderful valley. I still don't know who organized that service project, but it has had a major